The number on the screen is $340,000, and it is moving toward a company that has been legally dead for 6 months. Darius Calloway sees it at 9:47 on a Tuesday night. 43rd floor. Boston Financial District. Rain on the glass. The office empty except for him. His coffee went cold an hour ago and he hasn't touched it. Column H, row 23. An outbound wire flagged as a vendor payment to Hargrove Meridian Logistics LLC, a Delaware firm he helped register, structure, and formally dissolve 6 months ago. He knows every entity he has ever built the way a carpenter knows every joint he ever cut. Hargrove Meridian cannot receive money. It cannot receive anything. And yet $340,000 is moving toward it right now. His hands rest flat on the desk. 38 years old. Clean jawline. Not what people picture when they picture financial crime. No gold chain. No street history. No visible edge. Just a Series 65 license on the wall, a CPA certification beside it, and a framed photo of his mother Rosalind on the corner of the desk, a woman who raised him alone in Providence on a nurse's salary and told him every morning that his mind was his only real asset. Hi viewers, if you found out tonight that a company you closed was still receiving money without your knowledge, what would you do first? Trace it, report it, or stay completely quiet? He used that mind to build 21 shell corporations across 7 jurisdictions and move $14 million per quarter through structures so clean that federal auditors lose the thread 3 layers in and move on. 2 miles away, in a federal field office on New Sudbury Street, 2 financial crimes investigators have been studying his work for 9 months. Darius does not know this yet. He clicks into the transfer origin record. The account that sent the money, the account he closed personally, shows a transaction history going back 4 months. Someone has been using Hargrove Meridian since the week after he shut it down, and whoever built that shadow structure knew exactly how he built the original. Which means they learned it from him. Or they are him. 7 years ago, Darius Calloway was sitting in a Hartford cubicle with $94,000 in student debt and a performance review that said, exceptional analytical potential, in the first sentence and limited advancement pathway at this time, in the third. He had a 3.91 GPA from Wharton. A CPA. A mind that held 12 variables in motion simultaneously. None of it opened the door. Hartford Capital Advisors had $4.2 billion under management and 31 years with no black advisor above senior associate. Darius delivered cleaner analysis than anyone and waited. The waiting made him hollow in a way he had no vocabulary for yet. Then Marco Vitelli walked in on a Thursday afternoon. 62. Silver-haired. A suit that moved like water. Hotels, import firms, and a restaurant group running at a documented loss for 6 straight years, catastrophic mismanagement on the surface. To Darius it looked like something else. 11 minutes with the intake documents. Then, your restaurant group isn't losing money. It's absorbing it. Vitelli smiled the smile of a man who had been waiting a long time to be understood. You see what other people don't see, he said. Those 7 words cost Darius everything he would spend the next 7 years trying to protect. Vitelli didn't ask him to break the law that day. He asked him to solve a liquidity problem. The solution took 40 minutes. Vitelli paid $4,800 in cash, more than Darius earned in 2 weeks. Then came a tax problem. Then a compliance gap. Each one dressed in the language of legitimate business. Each one moving one step further from the edge Darius could still see clearly. He told himself that for 14 months. Then Vitelli slid a folder across the table and asked him to build a structure with no commercial purpose except concealment. Darius hesitated 4 seconds. Vitelli said, softly, "Your student loan balance is $94,200 as of last Thursday." I looked it up. The 4 seconds ended. The architecture goes up fast once Darius stops hesitating. The first layer is placement. Cash from Vitelli's network, restaurants, parking lots, valet operations, 3 check cashing outlets on Federal Hill, enters the books as revenue. A restaurant reporting $2.3 million when foot traffic justifies $900,000 is not, on its face, a crime. It is a very good restaurant. The IRS does not audit restaurants that pay their taxes on time. Darius makes sure they always do. The second layer is structuring. That income moves through 21 shell entities across Delaware, New Mexico, Wyoming, Nevada, and 2 offshore correspondent relationships in the Cayman Islands. Each entity has documentation. Each document has a story defensible in isolation. The crime lives in the relationship between them, and that relationship exists only inside Darius Calloway's head. The third layer is integration. Money that entered as cash exits as investment capital, payroll, property loans, clean, taxed, indistinguishable from the output of any modest enterprise. In 14 months, Darius processes $31.4 million. He earns $380,000 of it. The work feels, in those early months, almost like art. Every entity has a purpose. Every discrepancy has a prepared explanation on an encrypted drive behind a passphrase from a Langston Hughes poem his mother read him at 9. Then one afternoon he reviews intake for a new entity, a freight broker on a Providence warehouse block he recognizes. The pattern tells him what nobody said. He knows that address. 3 months earlier a federal indictment named a predatory lending operation there, cash advances at 190% annual interest, enforced through what prosecutors called non-judicial collection practices. Nobody tells him what the new entity feeds. Nobody has to. He files it. Does not ask. 3 weeks later that company name appears buried 4 layers deep in his own structure. He stares at it for 11 seconds. Closes the file. That silence is the moment the architecture stops being impressive and starts being something with no clean name on a business card. The first sign is a phone call from Brenda Okafor, compliance officer at First Harbor Bank. Darius has spoken to her 4 times and the conversations were always brief. This one is different from the first 90 seconds, the pauses after his answers are 3 beats too long. She is not running a routine review. Her questions move from the Delaware LLC to the Wyoming holding company to the New Mexico freight entity in the precise sequence a trained investigator would follow when tracing a layered structure end to end. Darius answers everything correctly. That is not the problem. Correct answers delivered in the unbroken cadence of a man who prepared for a conversation without being told it was coming tell an investigator one thing above everything else, he knows exactly what he is protecting. For days later a black Lincoln Navigator parks on Boylston Street for 47 minutes with no commercial reason to be there. Darius clocks it. Does not break stride. It is there again Friday. Different plates. Same posture. The same week Vitelli's organization begins moving Darius upward. Not with words. Through access, rooms he was never included in before. A dinner in a North End restaurant where he is introduced to men whose last names appear in federal indictments going back 19 years. He is not introduced as an advisor. He is introduced as ours. 1 syllable. Possessive. In that room he learns what the architecture actually protects. Not just profit, leverage files, bribery exposure for 3 union contracts, fallback liquidity for 2 men who may need to leave the country on 48 hours notice. He built walls for a building whose purpose he was never told. He drives home at midnight. Sits in the car for 11 minutes without moving. Infrastructure cannot resign. 3 days later his encrypted drive shows one folder accessed at 2:14 a.m. from an IP address that does not belong to any device he owns. Someone is inside his system. And they used the right passphrase to get there. Sleep stops working somewhere in month 16. Darius lies in the dark running numbers, not because he chooses to, but because his mind no longer has an off switch. His Beacon Hill apartment costs $4,100 a month and contains almost no evidence a human being inhabits it. 3 monitors. An encrypted drive. His mother's photo, following him everywhere like a small portable accusation. A woman named Tamara Elkins teaches urban planning at MIT. Sharp, relentless, the kind of person who actually sees you, which makes her dangerous now. "You're always somewhere else," she says over dinner. What kind of work makes a person disappear inside themselves? He changes the subject. 2 weeks later he stops calling her. He is too tired to build one more structure clean enough to survive scrutiny. Then the call comes. A voice he has heard twice. No greeting. No name. Calloway. The Caruso accounts need to be restructured by Friday. All of them. Reginald Caruso managed the legal entity network for 3 New England operations, 41 entities, 36 transfer relationships. He was indicted Tuesday. By Wednesday everything he touched is radioactive. 72 hours. 41 entities. Darius spends 54 hours at his desk. Dissolves 9 entities in 3 states. Reroutes 16 transfer relationships through dormant holding companies kept clean for exactly this contingency. Clean structure delivered Thursday at 6 p.m., 14 hours early. They reward him the only way they know how. More access. More rooms. More names on more federal watch lists. Each promotion a door closing behind him. He is no longer useful because he is talented. He is useful because he can save them when everything is burning. And people who can save you when everything is burning are not advisors. They are hostages with very good benefits. Then his phone shows a message, just a time and an address in Brookline. No name. No explanation. He goes. He will spend a long time afterward trying to find the exact moment he decided to walk through that door. He will not be able to find it. That is the most frightening part. The man at the corner table of the Brookline restaurant is supposed to be dead. His name is Vincent Delaney Osei. 61. Gray at the temples, thin in the way of a man who has spent 18 months eating carefully in rooms where no one brought him what he asked for. He was the financial controller for the Providence Network before Darius arrived. He vanished from every record 22 months ago. The organization never said his name again. You built the ghost identity, Osei says. No greeting. I built several. The Wyoming LLC. Single member, 2 Cayman correspondent relationships, clean EIN, no litigation flags. He sets down his espresso. That one was for me. The room tilts. Not physically. In the specific way a room tilts when a man realizes that a technical decision he made at 11 p.m. without being told whose problem it was, shaped the survival of a human being he never knew existed. Darius gave Vincent Delaney Osei a second life made entirely of paperwork. That's how they keep people like us useful, Osei says. They let us build rooms we don't know the purpose of. And then one day they lock us inside one. The full architecture reveals itself: law firms on retainer, freight brokers running 2 sets of records per shipment, luxury development groups providing investment camouflage, nonprofits generating tax-deductible trails, political intermediaries in Massachusetts state government keeping certain investigations understaffed. The organization is not surviving on muscle. It is surviving on paperwork. Darius made that possible. That night he searches his own name in a federal case database for the first time. 3 open cases come back. His name does not appear in any of them. The word "yet" arrives without being invited, and it does not leave. On a Monday morning Darius moves a single dormant transfer, $47,000 through a Wyoming path and used for 16 months. By Tuesday afternoon 3 separate parties have reacted. He did it deliberately. A man who builds systems understands that the fastest way to map who is watching is to move something small and see who flinches. First, Kwame Donaldson, a logistics coordinator, calls at 7:18 a.m. Wednesday to ask pleasantly whether everything is running smoothly. He uses the word "smoothly" twice. He is reading from an instruction given by someone above him. Second, a correspondent bank compliance query arrives Thursday targeting the specific Wyoming path. Someone flagged that $47,000 in real time. There is a live federal monitoring instrument inside his own architecture. Third, a private firm called Hargrove Westfield Advisory out of Stamford contacts a Delaware entity with a due diligence request so precisely targeted at his transfer timing patterns it could only have been written by someone who already understood the architecture from the inside. Not federal. Not the organization. A third party collecting documentation before the collapse, evidence, leverage, or a bargaining chip depending on which direction the wind turns. Everyone is moving their chips off the table. Nobody is warning him because his continued operation is worth more to every party than his safety. For days in a row the corner table at the coffee shop across the street is occupied by a different person, each with a clear sight line to his lobby and no convincing reason to be there. Thursday, a young woman, natural hair, eyes moving from her phone to his entrance in a rhythm too regular to be casual. He goes back upstairs. Opens a new encrypted folder. Begins documenting everything. That evening his apartment has been entered. Alarm set, door locked, keycard building. On the kitchen counter, a sealed envelope. Inside, his own transaction map, his naming conventions and routing logic, his name circled in red at the center. Underneath, 4 words in small clean type: "We know you know." Nobody comes to arrest Darius Calloway. That silence, from the direction where sound should be, is the part that breaks something open in him. He assumed the document would be loud. It is not loud. It is administrative. First Harbor Bank places 4 associated accounts under enhanced review. The letter uses the word "routine" twice. Brenda Okafor signs it. The 4 accounts are not random, they are exactly the accounts connecting the placement layer to the structuring layer. Freezing them simultaneously stops the entire $14 million quarterly cycle. Someone told her exactly which 4. A Providence brokerage stops returning calls. When he finally reaches someone on the 5th attempt, the pauses are perfectly even, a person reading from legal guidance while attempting to sound natural. A law firm that has represented 4 of his entities for 6 years sends a letter of withdrawal, delivered Friday at 4:30 p.m., the specific time chosen when you want 48 hours before someone can reach their own attorney. The organization does not call. Darius understands the geometry. Federal investigators won't arrest him because live transaction data outweighs a premature arrest. The organization won't protect him because doing so exposes their awareness of the investigation. He is the most useful man in the room to everyone, and that usefulness is the mechanism of his destruction. His hands produce a fine tremor he has never felt before. Destroying records confirms intent. Confessing requires protection he doesn't have. Doing nothing is the worst option and also the easiest. Then a courier delivers a sealed envelope. Not an arrest warrant. A federal grand jury subpoena with attachment language broad enough to reach 21 shell corporations, 14 financial institutions, 6 jurisdictions, 9 years of records. It reaches everything. At the bottom of the list, item 31 of 31, is the Wyoming LLC he created for an unnamed principal 14 months ago. The one that kept Vincent Delaney Osei alive. Darius sits alone with the subpoena for 2 hours. He reads it 3 times. The third time he stops reading it as a legal document and reads it as a story someone has been building about him, carefully, sourced, accurate. The accuracy is the specific quality of the dread that arrives now. Not the dread of a man falsely accused. The dread of a man correctly seen. He was the bridge, between money in the dark and institutions in the light, between criminal intent and clean financial product. Without his architecture, his timing patterns, his knowledge of which jurisdictions ask the fewest questions, the network could not have processed $31.4 million through structures clean enough to survive 5 years of federal monitoring. He did not order anything. Never sat in a room where violence was discussed. He told himself those things for years, and they were true, and the truth of them was the most effective lie he ever built. The most dangerous professionals are not the loudest criminals. They are the competent people who make corruption function smoothly. Who show up on time, file correctly, and never ask what happens on the other side of the paper they produce. He dials M. Fletcher, contractor. Marcellus Fletcher. Federal Defense Attorney, Washington, D.C. The name sat in his phone 4 months. Fletcher picks up second ring. 11 minutes. Thursday meeting at 9 a.m. One instruction: do not move anything. Do not delete anything. Do not contact anyone connected to the network. His phone buzzes. Unknown number. 5 words: we still believe in you. A threat dressed as loyalty, the quiet reminder that whatever room he walks into Thursday, they will know. He turns the phone face down. He begins writing, not a confession, but a precise documented account of every entity, every transfer, every routing relationship, every principal named and unnamed. By 4 a.m., 41 pages. By 6 a.m., 63. He seals it. One name on the outside. Marcellus Fletcher. Sets it next to his mother's photograph. Waits for Thursday. The dismantling is quiet. Not the Hollywood version, no raid, no screaming courtroom, no cameras at the rope line. The actual dissolution of a 7-year financial architecture sounds almost like nothing. Accounts being frozen. Entities receiving dissolution notices from state filing offices in Delaware, Wyoming, and New Mexico, 1 page each, across 9 months. 21 shell corporations. Gone. 36 transfer relationships. Severed. 14 financial institution connections. Closed. The forensic team is good. Darius can tell from the discovery request language, the precision, the sequence, working backward from integration through structuring to placement the way you disassemble a building top down. They have what he never had, unlimited time and no pressure to keep anything running. They find everything. Marco Vitelli is indicted in March. 41 counts. Wire fraud, money laundering, racketeering, obstruction. The indictment is 218 pages, references 94 transactions across 7 jurisdictions. Darius built the structures every one of them moved through. He appears on page 7 as Financial Advisor A. Kwame Donaldson takes a plea. 2 Massachusetts political intermediaries resigned the same week in nearly identical language, coordinated exits before indictments reach their level. Some people survive. Some don't. The machine dies not because the government killed it but because once the architecture fails, the people inside stop trusting each other faster than investigators finish the paperwork. Darius cooperates. His plea reduces a potential 34-year sentence to 4 years supervised release and a $2.1 million financial penalty. He loses his CPA, his Series 65, his standing everywhere his name was known. His Beacon Hill office is emptied by a moving company he never contracted. Access codes die one at a time: email, server, keycard, brokerage portal. He calls his mother on a Sunday evening from a rental apartment in a city he cannot yet name. Rosalind picks up second ring. Steady. Warm. The voice of a woman who has never confused a difficult situation with a permanent one. "Are you safe?" she asks. "Yes," Darius says. "Are you still you?" He sits with that for a long time. "I'm working on it," he says. He is also the man who built it. Both things are true at the same time and will be for the rest of his life. Somewhere tonight a man with a sharp mind and a debt he cannot pay is opening a folder slid across a table by a well-dressed stranger. The machine, quiet, patient, dressed in the language of legitimate business, is starting its engine again. If this story made you think, drop a comment. At what point should Darius have walked away? The first meeting? The first structure? The moment he filed the entity without asking questions? Your answer says more than you think. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Every week we bring you stories about people who lived inside the world's most powerful systems and what it cost them to get out. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. That one share might reach someone standing at exactly the door Darius stood at. And that might be the most important thing you do today.